Welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be on Suffolk cylinder bearings. Now the cylinder bearings used on this Suffolk Pony and the Colts and some of the Punches are these. I'm sure you've seen them, but they are they're not a conventional bearing as you know them. They're in this little race and they rely on a cone to keep it all nice and tight. Now, this particular machine, you probably recognise it, the little Suffolk Pony, two-stroke pony. We got it running a couple of weeks ago or so, and I was really just going to make a set of wooden front rollers, as you can see. They're non-existent, and then wrap that job up. But as I've looked at it a little bit more, it's quite obvious when you look at the cutting cylinder, it seems nice and sharp, and I think if adjusted it will cut all right. But the cutter bearings they're very stiff, and even though there's oilers on there, my feeling is they're probably iffy. So I think in this video what we're going to do, we're going to take this mower apart, assuming it will come apart all right. There's one particular area that's likely to give us a little bit of troubles, but hopefully it won't, and if we do, we've got to be a bit forceful with it. But we're going to take the cutting cylinder out, because sadly on this, it's the only way you're going to get to the bearings. Some mowers have got a slightly easy removable cutting cylinder, or maybe as some of the JPs you can remove a cartridge, but this you've got to do it the hard way. So we're going to remove the cutting cylinder. We're going to check the cones, and I've got some new bearings. I think they're the right ones, and then we're going to put those back in and hopefully sort this rather stiff cutting cylinder out. So with that, I'm going to put my glasses on. We're going to get you zoomed in, and then we're going to start taking this Suffolk Pony mower apart. Just before we get started, there's well, you've got two ways of doing this really. You've got to take one of the side frames apart. Now, I think in the case of this Pony or a Colt or a Punch, if you take the right hand side apart or take the right hand side off, it should spare us and cause us a little less bother. If we take the left hand side off, once we refit it, we've obviously got the clutch to deal with as well, and then when you've only got one pair of hands, it's not quite so easy. So my intention is to take the right hand side off, and then we can leave the clutch, and hopefully, okay, the engine will drop a bit, but we can sort of leave the engine and the clutch alone, and I think that might be the way to do it. Hopefully it will make it a bit easier. But nevertheless, we've still got to take the chain cover off. We've got to get the cutting cylinder sprocket off, and behind that there's a pin, and quite often, typically, it's a sort of shear pin, but typically it bends a little bit, and then you find you can't get it out, you can't hammer it out. But we won't know till we get there, so we will get the chain cover off, and then we'll see whether this pin's all right and whether the sprocket pin is bent and going to give us any trouble. So I'm going to put some gloves on, and then hopefully you can see what we're doing. Let's get you closer there. That's good. We probably should really be using a bigger screwdriver. That silly little thing. And of course we'll need a hammer. So there is only one holding this cover on. Let's it. Oh, goodness me, that surprised me. I've never taken that off, and there we go. We got half a mower. So it saved us a bit of work, but looks like I've got to find myself a sprocket for the rear roller. There is a intermediate sprocket. Luckily, we've still got the engine one there. And then more importantly, the cutting cylinder sprocket. I'm hoping it's going to be the same as a Suffolk Colt, because if it isn't, I'm going to struggle getting bits for this. Now, I'll just show you very briefly. This is obviously going to save us a lot of time. But on the end of that cutting cylinder, you would have a sprocket obviously, and then that little hole there, you have a little sort of cotter shear pin, and the idea is it shears if you hit something hard. Normally it just tends to bend, and then you have a job to get the sprocket off. But this has actually saved us a bit of time. It surprised me. I've never taken the cover off. Didn't realise there was half of it missing, but there you go. We're going to have to get by somehow. So let's swing the mower around, and then we're going to get cracking with the rest of it. Right, let's just get you down a bit. Right, so we've got to firstly probably just disconnect. I don't think we need to take it right off, but we're just going to take the handle bolt out. Let's put all the nuts and bolts in the chain case. So we're going to undo all of the tie bolts, tie bars that hold the engine down, and also this one here is for the bottom block, the blade assembly. Get them all loosened off. We don't need to touch the roller one, because hopefully the shaft is just going to drop out. We do need to unscrew you can see it, the concave, one of the concave screws. We might take the whole thing out, but we'll see. What we will do is we're going to back the cutting cylinder screws off a bit, just to take the tension off the springs. Hopefully when we take it apart, it won't all fly apart. Once we get a bit further, you'll see these springs once we've got it apart. Right, so that one off. So let's just give those a little soak to give it some encouragement. I'm hoping it'll come apart all right, because I'm pretty sure, well, this machine's been restored at some point, but I think they took it apart to do it, so we'll soon see. But hopefully we're just going to put a gentle tap. Bearing in mind this is cast iron, so if you hit it too hard you will break it. I've got a feeling it might just be a bit of seized up on the bottom block, the blade carrier. So let's just put the bolt back in there and just give it a tap. That's where it's likely to be. this point the mower's all going to get a bit sort of droppy and saggy. There we are. Right. Right, the cylinder should come out. There we are. Yep. So it's certainly been taken apart to do it, because you'd never paint some of those bits there. But yeah, obviously they either lost the chains and the sprockets in the process. So in actual fact, they don't look too bad, but we can see the bearings in there. And again, the other side. I think what we'll do, we will pop these out, and then we can have a closer look at them. Let's get you down a bit. Here we are. So all I've done at the moment, I've taken the tension off the bolts. Obviously, when you adjust it and you tighten it down, it lowers the cylinder. We've got that spring there that's just about to come out, so we'll flip that out. And we've got our bearing block. We'll do one side at a time. So this is a little sort of a felt seal that we've got there. And that should come out, and then we can get our bearing out. So I'm just going to prise it out, if it will. There we are. So that's our little, it's a sort of a little felt seal. And then our bearing. There we are. So the bearing doesn't actually look too bad, but we're going to give it a clean up. We're going to take the little oil nipple out for now and make sure that the gully is clean, and then do the same with the other side. So I'm going to get a rag, and then we'll start cleaning up a little. Good. All right, so we're going to take the little nipple out. I'm going to probably just put that in the vise. So we can get it out. I think that's slightly cheating, but should unscrew. Right, so there's our little grease oil nipple. We'll just poke the little hole through just to make sure it's nice and clear. It looks all right actually, so I think, but we will just poke that through. Yeah. I'm probably going to put a new nipple in that, but we can do that when it's all assembled. So let's go back over here. Good. So, yeah, I've got some bearings, so let's have a look. I think these are the right size. They look about right. Now, luckily it looks all right, but you can see the sort of this piece there is part of the bearing. This metal backing hammers out, and as it happens, it looks like it's not worn. I haven't got any of those, so I can't replace it, but as luck would have it, it looks like the surface is not worn, and hopefully with just new bearings, we're going to check the cones. This can be, that bit can be reused. What is very important with these Suffolks, and it's very easy to get it wrong, the bearing should only go in one way. That's the correct way with the cage like that. If we put it round the other way, that's the wrong way. The idea is, let's just swing it round to the cutting cylinder. You'll probably hopefully see. We'll bring it a bit closer. We're going to clean this up as well, but you can see the cone. Let's get the camera down a bit. There we are. So you can see that. So the bearing runs on this little surface there. And that will be the right way. So the balls are running on that little bearing surface in the housing. If you put it this way, it's wrong, and the chances are when you bolt it up, the bearing are tighten up and probably collapse. So just remember, when you put these bearings in, as we've said, we can see it like that. That's the way it's got to be dropped in, like that. So it looks like that bearing's okay. I think, got some seals as well. Let's see if they're okay, because we can probably put some new seals in. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that looks almost like a washer. That, I don't think it's a seal, but this is a little felt seal with the felt in there that hopefully just keeps the dirt out. That should just hammer back in there. So I'm just going to get the hammer, and then we'll just tap that back in. Not tapping in very well, so I think we're going to have a go at just pressing it in with the vise. Let's see if we can do that. No, we've not quite got that in there. Let's get him out again. In fact, I've caught that one. You see? Yeah. Right, okay. Well, luckily I've got a few. Obviously these are obsolete through Suffolk, but obviously eBay, and there's various different places. Probably eBay's a good place to get it from. So, yeah. Right, let's see if we can get this one in successfully. A bit better. Yeah, I managed to get that one in without damaging it. What I think I will do is I'll get a socket, and then we'll just push it in. In actual fact, we can probably use this, looks like a washer. We'll just press it in just a little bit more, and then hopefully it won't come out. Looks better. Good. And the bearing hopefully should still be loose in there. It is. So I think that one's all right. So let's go back to the side frame. Right, let's make a little bit of room. You can do this obviously whilst it's assembled, but that's a little nylock nut to stop this obviously unscrewing. And if I've got another one, I'm going to put one on. As I say, it just stops it vibrating when you're using it and then going off cut. I'm going to have a quick look. If I've got one, we'll put one on. Otherwise, we will have to reuse. Let's have a look. No, I think this is 5/16 UNF. Let's have a look. It could be BSF. I think it is. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think it probably is. What have we got there? Ah, now let's have a look. No, I think I've got a Whitworth there. So let's just see what if we've got UNC. Right. Hopefully got the right one now. Let's have a look there. Let's put that one by. So I have now a 5/16 UNF, and yes, that's the one. There we are. So we don't want to put we don't really need to screw this down too far at the moment, because it will just make difficult to get the spring back in. So yes, no, it is. So yes, the thread on that 5/16 UNF. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to put a little bit of copper slip on our sliders, because obviously this housing goes up and down, so we're going to just put a little bit of copper slip on there. And you can see there's only really one way that it goes on, so we've got goes up and down. Obviously when you set your adjuster, the housing will go up and down like so. Now I think what we're probably going to do is just clean those surfaces up a little bit, because it should go up and down quite easily. And look, you can see we've got a bit of paint on there. I think if we just clean those off a little bit, it would just mean that when we go for adjusting this, it will hopefully move smoothly. Then we'll do the same with the back. Right, okay, so let's just have a quick demo. That's better. Yeah, that's better. So it's going to slide up and down nicely when you set the adjuster. We're going to pop the spring in, the housing, and hopefully with a little bit of brute force, we can force this back in without the spring disappearing. So let's have a look. Yeah. Okay, and I will put another little oil nipple, grease nipple in once it's all assembled. I might not have one I can find today, but that could be done at a later date. Right, let's get back onto the cylinder now. Now these cones here as well, which you can probably see, these are very important, and they do wear as well. So let's just get this one off. This one is this one should move quite easily up and down on the shaft. And what we've also got, this little washer, if we take that off, like a spring washer. The way these bearings work, when it's all right, this little washer should be pressing quite hard on the bearing, like that. That's how it should sort of work. There's a little locator there, and you can probably see there's a little pin on the cutting cylinder, so hopefully it all lines up and stays where it is, and this doesn't rotate when the cylinder does. But these do wear. and it's mainly where the bearing surface is, and they do want to be quite nice and clean, and that should really move up and down that shaft very easily. So we're gonna just clean that up. We will also clean up the cone as well, and then hopefully we can reuse that as well, because sadly I don't have one of those either. So hopefully that will be reusable. So let's just clean this up a bit, see what sort of a state that is in. So okay, so that's the little washer, spring washer, and our cone. Okay, so if we look at it closely, hopefully you can see it. We've got a little bit of pitting. You can see where the bearing runs, and my guessing is that is probably a bit worn. But sadly, I don't have any of these. And what we're going to do, ideally, you would also replace this spring washer. Keeps the pressure on it. What we're going to do is we're just going to open that up a little bit, put a little bit more pressure on the bearing as well. So hopefully, with the new bearings, and the washer being stretched a bit, we're not going to have any play, and it'll run smoothly. We do need, it is very important on these to clean that shaft up as well, because it needs to move easily on that. So we do need to do that. So we'll give that a bit of a clean up. If we can get that. Right, so the shaft looks a little better. I'm just going to see if this, and it should, yes, it moves up and down quite nice and freely. So our little washer, as I said, I'm going to just put that in the vise, and then we're going to just open it up a little bit. It's sprung, so it shouldn't really break, but we'll just put a little bit more pressure on it, and then we'll go back to that. So okay, so what we'll do, we'll put a little bit of copper slip, because we want this to slide and take the wear up as you use it. So we'll put our washer back on. There we are. and obviously our cone back on there. Good. So yes, when I press on that now, you can feel there's, and you can see that it's doing what it should be, and that'll be pressing on the bearing. Right, the other side, that's quite different. It does have a cone. Try not to lose it. And it is replaceable when it wears. Let's get you in closely. So you can see that one's got a screw, but this one doesn't have a spring behind it. So it is just a cone on its own, and it doesn't actually move. You've just got a little grub screw and no spring behind it. It looks like there's a washer behind it, and I'm not sure whether that should be on there. But I think we'll leave it on for now. We're going to clean the bearing surface up. And then we're going to, once we've done the other bearing block, we will assemble it. Hopefully it doesn't go up tight. If it does, and that is a washer. I'm slightly suspicious that shouldn't be there. But it might have been put there because these cones are a little bit worn as well. So we'll give it a good clean up. And again, we've got another new bearing. We'll just drop it on the shaft and just see. Again, that'll be the right way, and that'll be the wrong way. So that's the right way. So it fits quite nicely. Okay, so let's just put that by for a moment. Good, so I've just done the other side. I've done that off camera. It's the same deal. You can see the housing on the left-hand side. I've taken it out. I've done the bearing, new felt seal. Didn't go in terribly easily on that one again, but I've got it in. And I've cleaned the sliders up and put some copper slip. And again, like the other side, we've got a new nylock nut on the adjuster, 5/16 UNF. So I think we're just about ready to put the cutting cylinder in. It's going to be more difficult to put it back in, but we will get it in there somehow, I'm sure. So I'm just going to pre-oil the bearings. Do the same with the other one. Good. What I did do briefly is also, we've got, if we have a look, you've got to be careful. This is obviously the bottom block, the blade carrier. It does locate in that part of the frame. So I've cleaned it up a little bit. Hopefully that will go in nice and easily. We're going to put a little bit of copper slip on there. And hopefully when I put the side frame on, that will locate and go in there. So the cutting cylinder, it'll obviously only go in one way. So let's drop this in. Put that in. That's good. That's okay. And then now the fiddly part, we're going to get the side cover. There's also a little locating pin there as well. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit because it will all help. I might just put a little bit of copper slip on that as well. Right, so let's see if we can get this lot back together. The handle's not too important, but obviously all of the engine tie bars are. This is where you really need many pairs of hands. Well, what we'll do, we'll leave the roller shaft out because that's just one more thing to have to line up. We can put that in after. Making sure everything's as it should and is going back. So far so good. Right, let's just give it a gentle tap. Now we just need to make sure that this bottom block goes in there. Let's just pull it over a little bit. I think that's the thing that's just stopping it at the moment. It's not quite lined up. I think what we'll do at this point, we'll put some of the nuts in place, and then as we're tapping it, hopefully it will all stay in one piece. Right, so the cutting scissors in there. Good. I think we are more or less lined up. So I'm just going to slowly start tightening things up. If it feels tight or awkward, I'm going to stop because obviously I will break this side cover. Doing it up evenly. I'll just make sure the cutting cylinder still turns. It does. Doing it evenly. That one. A gentle tap. Right, so before we go any further, we're just going to check a couple of little things. We're going to make sure the roller still rotates. Yep. We'll make sure the cutting cylinder turns, which it does. And then we'll just see if we've got any movement in there. I think it's that's the concave that's rubbing. That's it. Right. That's better. Right, okay. And then I think what we'll do, we'll just put the handle bolt back in just for the moment. One more thing, we've got to just put the concave screw in. I did have to, let's just have a little look down there. You can probably see there's a little channel where the concave lines up and goes into. I had to relocate that, but that's in there. So if we put the screw in, we'll probably just tip it up and then just make sure all looks well underneath. Right, let's just tip it up. There we go. So let's just have a close look underneath. Make sure everything looks okay. Yeah, I think everything's lined up. We've got a gap between the blade carrier and the side frame. That's quite normal. We can see the other side there as well. So that's quite normal. And that looks to have gone in okay. And the roller shaft, we'll put that back in just a moment. And then I think we're nearly job done with bearings. So, yeah, the cutting cylinder's definitely turning nice and freely. And I'm sure as we use it, it'll loosen up a bit more. And we're just going to see if we've got any movement. So I'm looking for movement that way. That feels good. And again, it's side to side is good as well. So really, the only thing I need to do with that is put some new oilers on the housings, and then I'll set the cylinder down to cut, and then that part of the job is done. So all we need to do now is just put the roller shaft in. I don't really need to put it in because I've got to take it off to make a new set of rollers. Good. So there you have it, Suffolk cylinder bearings. So yes, if your Suffolk's got a bit of play in them, or they're very, very rumbly, it's not a bad job to do. But I think as we did on here, the sensible thing to do is take the right hand side frame off rather than the left hand side. We didn't have to disturb any of the clutch. I have done it this way before, but it definitely makes it more difficult. So take the right hand side off, and it does make the job a bit easier. But yes, bearings and new felts, and I think once we've adjusted the cylinder down onto on-cut, new rollers, and of course the little surprise, my chain case of emptiness, I've got to find some sprockets. Chains won't be a problem, I've got those. As I say, I hope they're the same as a Suffolk Colt. I will have a look in the parts book, as I said. If that's the case, then it shouldn't be a problem. But otherwise, I will be looking for a set of Suffolk Pony sprockets. But there you go. I hope that was useful. If you've got a Suffolk Colt, a Suffolk Pony, a Suffolk Punch, the early ones, they all have these type cone bearings. They're quite simple. They work quite well, but like anything, they wear out. They need servicing, but it's all doable. And again, a lot of those bearings, those type things, you can get on eBay and places like that. Like I say, I'm not so sure the cones are quite so easy to get these days, but certainly the bearings are, so you should be able to get those. And I think in this case, obviously the cones are a little bit worn, but they're not too bad. I've stretched that spring a bit and plenty of oil. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful to you, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you very much for watching.